Hey guys, Captain Andrew here with FishHeadwatersLake.com. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about commercial fishing as a whole, and also here on Headwaters Lake. There's some talk about commercial fishing on the lake, and taking shiners, and it gets a little bit of a controversy. So I want to put forth a couple of things for you guys that might help you understand, whether you're a local or whether you're somebody from out of town who who doesn't understand all the nuances of the way things work in the state and also with Headwaters. So, all right, first and foremost, commercial fishing. It is well defined by the state of Florida what commercial fishing is. Now I can give you a half-assed explanation as to what it is, but basically it is taking a fish and selling the fish, taking some sort of marine or aquatic life and selling that fish. It's not selling services. I'm not here to argue with you. The state of Florida has defined that and has been for probably 100 years, right? So we have saltwater guides, we have saltwater captains, we have guys who catch saltwater bait, for a living. They catch shrimp and they catch pinfish, and that sort of stuff. And of course we have our freshwater our guides as well. You got guys that run airboat tours. You got people that do dolphin tours. You got people that do porpoise, booze cruise, kind of things. Remember, Florida's not just, lakes. We've got the whole coastline and everything. So, keep in mind that when Florida looks at those regulations, they've got to kind of look at everything. So, with that said, people always throw out there, well, guides are commercial fishing. They're commercial fishing. The state of Florida has said for years and years that's not commercial fishing. That's not under the Florida statute definition of commercial fishing. So I'm not just defending my position, as being a guide. I'm going by the regulations that that Florida's put forth. And I tell you, you probably won't find a guy who is more strict or adamant about the regulations, because it makes everybody play fair. So if there's a regulation, I'm gonna stick by it. So guides out on Headwaters Lake, on Stick Marsh, on Garcia, or any lakes around here, they don't fall under the commercial fishing definition by the state of Florida. Catching shiners is, because you're taking a fish and you're selling the fish. So that is absolutely commercial fishing. The reason is that it's absolutely commercial fishing. You must have a commercial fishing license in order to do that. In order to guide for freshwater, you don't have to have a commercial fishing license. In order to be a guide in saltwater, you do not have to have a commercial fishing license. You do have to have a Coast Guard license if you're guiding in saltwater. So different for freshwater, saltwater in that regard. But either way, you don't have to have a commercial fishing license. If you catch shiners, you must have a commercial fishing license in order to catch those fish and sell them to a retailer. If you're a retailer, you have to have a license to buy those live fish and to sell those fish. It's not a seafood license, it's a bait license. So there's two licenses. So if somebody catches shiners and then they want to sell the shiners, there's two licenses involved. Both of them are commercial fishing licenses. So with that said, on the St. John's Water Management District lakes, there is no commercial fishing allowed. Commercial fishing falls under the state definition, so no shiner fishing, with the exception of Lake Garcia. Lake Garcia last year had a pilot program where they allowed some shiner fishing permits. They sold permits to some guys. Bid. They had to bid on those licenses in order to be able to shiner fish on that lake. A limited number of permits, and it was a limited number of months. It was only a handful of months out of the year. Theoretically, they worked with the FWC on which months they were allowed to fish. I can't find anybody with the FWC that can corroborate that, which is one of the problems that I want to talk about. So, no commercial fishing on Headwaters Lake, no shiner fishing. Stick Marsh right next door, no shiner fishing on either one of those places. So, if you want to catch shiners for yourself, you absolutely can do that. You can catch shiners, and you can use them for bait all day long. You can catch them pretty much any way you want, because it's not a regulated species other than commercial fishing in order to sell them. Most people throw a cast net. You bait it with dog food or hog feed, or something, and kind of collect them around, and then you throw the cast net. Some of those guys that are the professional shinermen who catch them for a living, you know, they are pretty close about how they catch them and where they catch them and that sort of stuff. If you want to learn more about that, you can look for Mr. Mike Kraus. You know, he's probably one of the most vocal of the shinermen. You know, one of the most, I don't want to say famous, but I mean, he's the one who carries the torch for the shinermen, and he's really a professional guy, and very, very knowledgeable about how to catch them, where to catch them, and how they take care of them in order to keep them alive. You don't just catch them, throw them in a tank, and then sell them. You know, sell them to the bait shop. Having conversations with Mike, man, there's so much involved in making sure these fish are clean, are pure, are hardy, and you know, and will live, you know, for a long time. Because if you catch them out of the lake, throw them in a tank, and then put them in your live well, you just beat the crap out of them, and they're all going to die. So you want, you know, good quality bait, ones that have gone through the process of curing. I think it's what they call it. I think it's called curing. You know, there's a couple of chemicals involved. I know they use some salt to toughen their skin. You know, they want to expel all the ammonia that's in them so they don't die in your live well. I mean, there's a whole thing. If you're going to catch them for yourself for the day, it's really not necessary. But you will find that towards the end of the day, your shiners get a little bit lazy. You know, they're not as tough. They're not as resilient as those ones that you know, that you purchased. You know, at the tackle shop, they're not going to last, you know, quite as long. But hopefully out here in Headwaters Lake, they're not going to last that long anyway. Hopefully you're going to catch fish with them, you know, no matter what. So come back to commercial fishing. I believe there's a rumor that the St. John's Water Management District is considering opening up Headwaters Lake to shiner fishing. As of right now, it's a rumor. I've got a meeting that I'm trying to put together with the folks at St. John's Water Management District to try and understand why they're considering this, and find out if it's actually a you know, good idea or not. Shooting from the hip, no, I think it's a terrible idea. Why would you take food out of this lake? You know, when we're trying to produce trophy bass. You know, this is one of 5 lakes in the whole state that the FWC and the biologists are pouring money and pouring efforts into to produce you know, those giant fish. Why would you take forage out of here? I heard a rumor that someone told St. John's that there are too many shiners in the lake. That kind of baffles me. What does too much food mean? The fish are going to get too fat, you know? The shiners are basically herbivorous. They eat the vegetation. They will eat a little bit of protein. They'll eat bugs. I've heard guys talk about not wanting them in their farm ponds because they'll eat the bluegill eggs. So, you know, they may do that sort of thing, but they're not. I can't imagine that there's too much anywhere in the entire state of Florida that's causing a problem that we need to remove them. That's absolutely ridiculous. I want to see that research. I'm going to approach St. John's and see if they can give me some information on whether or not that's happening, and if that's the case, you know, that research should be public, and you know, I want to be able to take a look at that and have you know, other people you know, take a look at it and see what they think. Shooting from the hip, I sure don't want any commercial fishing you know, out here. I think it's terrible. Don't take food out of this lake. We're trying to produce a trophy lake. The other thing is the way the shinermen fish. It's just how it's done. They drive those PVC poles into the bottom of the lake where their little spots are, and they guard those spots, you know, because if they're catching good fish in a certain area, then they don't want to give it up. Man, we can't have that on a lake. We went through that, you know, for a period of about 6 months where we had commercial fishing out here before they, you know, removed that. Those PVC poles are a hazard. You know, they're all over the place. You run one of those things over, gets in a prop, tears something up. You know, my problem is what if somebody runs one over and it flies up and, you know, hits somebody in the face, or, you know, something like that. You know, and they're just all over the place. It's not like you can you know, really avoid them. They're terrible looking. You know, white PVC poles, you know, all over the place. Earlier this year, 2022, FWC approached us and said, hey, you know, you guys are out there all the time. You guys locals, can you pull up the poles, because they'd stopped the commercial fishing. Can you pull up the poles? So we did. We pulled up, I don't know how many hundred PVC poles out here. Yeah, that's right, hundreds of PVC poles that were out here just randomly on the lake where you know, where the guys had been commercial fishing. That's an eyesore, man. Just think about all that stuff sticking up all over the lake. I don't care for that. I understand that's how they've got to do it, and you know, I don't begrudge them that, but I really would prefer that not to be on this lake. So if there's something going on with St. John's about doing commercial fishing out here, you can have your own opinion. I think that's awesome. but give them a call and let them know how you feel about it. You know, if you think it's a great idea and they need to come out here and clean the shiners out, then go for it. Let them know. Of course, your opinion, you know, is your own. If you don't think it's a great idea and you think that we ought to keep the commercial shiner guys out of here, keep commercial fishing out of here, you know, then man, you better give them a buzz and let them know. You know, I'm one guy with one voice. I can only you know, scream in their ears, you know, so much. They see my name pop up on the caller ID, and they don't answer my emails. They don't answer anymore. You know, I'm the one that you know, stands on the stump and yells at them. I am the Lorax. You know, I'm out here shaking my fist at them, trying to make them do the right thing, but I'm only one guy. So, you know, more voices. You know, if you guys want to give them a call and you know, let them know. Unfortunately, I don't have the number handy right here. You know, it's on my phone, but I can't grab it because obviously I'm on here. But it's you can easily Google the St. John's Water Management District and pull up those phone numbers and give them a call. I'm reluctant to give the name of the gentleman that I talked to, because I don't want to, you know, create any more bad blood if he gets 10,000, you know, phone calls. But it's not very difficult to go down the list and see who you need to talk to, and just let them know how you feel about the commercial fishing. With that, you know, other things, you know, may come into play. If we allow that, if that crack in the dam opens up, then I don't know what will happen, you know, next. Maybe they decide that they want to open up airboat tour operations out here, and you know, I appreciate those guys working hard, you know, in their business. They're all over Lake Garcia. You know, I don't think that we need them out here. That's my opinion. We spend an awful lot of money and a lot of time, you know, on this lake. I'm trying to make this again, you know, trophy fishery, but all the vegetation and, you know, and what have you that's out here, we certainly don't want, you know, airboats, the tours and things, you know, because that's what the tourists, you know, they want to ride over the grass and, you know, all that kind of. I don't think that's something that we want out here. So you know, there's not a plan, you know, for that to happen out here. But once you open up the floodgate, there's no telling what, you know, what may come out here next. So you know, just give them a call and let them know how you feel, and hopefully we can, you know, keep things going in the right direction. You know, my wish here is only to have, you know, the finest trophy lake in the entire United States, you know, for people to come and enjoy and try to catch that gigantic bass. I want to keep it clean. I want to keep it as natural as possible, you know, and I want everybody to play nice. And if I have to be the parking lot Karen, you know, to try to push that forward, then so be it. That's, you know, that's what I'm going to be. But I sure could use some help. You know, I sure could use some voices, you know, in that particular regard. So again, St. John's Water Management District. You know, you Google them and find those telephone numbers. I apologize again for not having them, but let's get some voices in that direction, and hopefully we can sway them into, you know, not making that decision. I just would prefer it that way. All right, guys. Thanks.